Alright, so I think that we left off on base units, and I just wanted to mention that, or go back to this briefly, that the base units for height or width or length are meters, and the shorthand would be at lowercase m. And then for mass, it would be grams with a G, volume, liters, L. This would be, how you would measure liquids. Mass would be, how much something weighs, even though mass is a little bit different than weight. And time in seconds for S. So the nice thing about the metric system is these are the base units that you have to remember. And then the prefixes are the same for no matter what the base unit is. So if I want to talk about smaller than a meter, then I would say a decimeter, a centimeter, or a millimeter. If I wanted to say something larger than a meter, then I could say decameter, hectometer, kilometer. Now, you don't hear people say decameter or hectometer a whole lot, but you are probably familiar with kilometer. And then if I wanted to talk about something smaller than a gram, I could say decigram, centigram, milligram, and that would all be the same as well. So these are our base units, and we use these prefixes for all different base units. You can remember that there are 3 on either side, 3 smaller and 3 larger, by using King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. I don't think that's historically accurate, but it will help you to remember this system. So there is a slider system to the metric system. So we talked about a little bit earlier that everything is in units of 10. So if I go from my base unit to larger units, I'm going to be dividing by 10. And if I go to smaller units, I'm going to be multiplying by 10. It makes sense that there would be more of something that's smaller and less of something that's bigger. And we'll talk about how to use this scale in a moment. So this would be the slider scale simplified. So we have our base units in the middle, and then we have our 3 smaller prefixes as well as our 3 larger prefixes. And let's go ahead and look at using this slider system to work with your conversions on the practice of your guided notes. So you may take a moment to have paused on this slide in order to fill in the blanks, but I'm going to keep moving. And I'm going to go to my OneNote. I'm going to talk about these practice questions and how to answer those. So I believe that would have been the next slide anyway. So take some time to fill out the blanks in your guided notes, and then when you're ready, you can unpause me and we'll talk about the practice problems, which is what I'm going to do right now. So if I wanted to go from a base unit of, say, meters to millimeters, I would start by placing my finger at the base unit of millimeters, and then I could move 1, 2, 3 places to the millimeter. So where I started was here, and where I ended up here. And what that means is I would also move 1, 2, 3 decimal places to the right. So say that, for example, I had 5 meters that I wanted to convert to millimeters. I would say that 5 has a decimal point at the end. So we could even call it 5.0. And I wanted to move my decimal point 3 places, so that would be 1, 2, 3. And I would put my new decimal place there. Sorry, it's a little hard to read. And I would fill the rest in with zeros. So that would mean that 5 meters converts to 5,000 millimeters. All right, let's go ahead and use this slider scale for the first practice problem. Okay, first practice problem is to convert 27.4 grams to milligrams. So I'm going from grams to milligrams, and it's 27.4, okay, grams to milligrams. Okay, 27.4 grams, and we want to go to milligrams. So first I'm going to use my slider scale to see how many places that would be. So I'm going to start at my base unit because I'm starting with grams, G. And then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and I end up with milligrams, M. So that would be mg, like we have here. So I know that I need to move 3 places to the right. So I'll take my original number of 27.4 grams, and I'll move my decimal place 1, 2, 3, put my new decimal here, and fill in the spaces with zeros. This means that our new number is 27,400 milligrams. So that would be your answer for number 1. $27,400 milligrams. Now for the next one, it's a little bit different because we're going to convert from milliliters, a smaller unit, to liters, a larger unit. So instead of going to the right, we're going to go to the left. So let's write out our original number of 292.7 milliliters. And we want to go to liters. So I'm going to go back up to my slider bar. Scroll up just briefly. I'm going to erase my work from the last time we did this. And I know that I want to go from milliliters to liters. So this time I'm starting at the milli side and I'm working my way to the base unit because I want to go from milliliters, which would be here, to liters, which would be over here. So this means I'm going to count from milli to liter. 1, 2, 3. So it's still 3 places, but this time I'm going to the left, which means that I'm going to move my decimal value to the left as well, 3 places. That means I'll take this decimal point and I'll move 1, 2, 3. This means that my decimal is now out front. I could rewrite this value, and my pen's not cooperating. Let's try that again. It's odd. Okay, well, we'll write in blue. So a decimal, 2,927 liters. So converting that from milliliters to liters, our answer is now 0.2927 liters. Go ahead and do the last one on your own. And I'm going to jump back over to our slides. So now that we've quickly gone over using the slider scale, and we've converted the first two. You can do the third on your own. We'll check our answers so we can see that we were correct on the first and the second, and then hopefully you're able to get 0.312 centimeters for the third. If you do not, then please go back to watching the practice that I just described for 1 and 2. Okay, so the type of tool that we use for different measurements, if we're talking about mass, how much matter is in the object, then we're going to use a triple beam balance, or more likely you'll probably use a digital scale. And the units would be gram, milligram, or kilogram would be most common. Here is a quick video on using the triple beam balance, and I'm not going to show this right now for sake of time, but you will watch this and answer the question on the practice problems. Tools for volume. So volume, this is how much space is taken up by an object. It would typically be a graduated cylinder if we're working in the lab, because it would be most accurate this way. Beakers aren't typically that accurate for measuring liquid, but for storing liquid. Units would be liter, milliliter, or kiloliter, but not as popular. The curved surface at the top of the graduated cylinder is known as the meniscus. You always read from the bottom of the meniscus. So this is a video that shows you how to read a graduated cylinder. So you would not go to the flat top line, you would read from the lowest point of the curved line. And this is because water has what's known as capillary action, meaning that it can stick to objects other than itself. So some water sticks to the sides of the glass. Again, something to watch on your own. Distance, length, width, and height. These would all be measured with a meter stick or ruler. Millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer are common uses for length measurement. And if we want to be very precise, then we're going to use the metric side of our ruler. The larger numbers on the metric side represent the centimeters, and then you'll find 10 millimeters on the inside of each number because there are 10 millimeters in a centimeter. If you were going to use our system, US system, then you would use inches, and we talk in eighths of an inch. So that might be something common for you to use if you're, I don't know, working construction in the US. For temperature, we use Celsius because our freezing point is 0 and our boiling point is 100, so it keeps things nice and simple. And that concludes this metric system video. Go ahead and finish the questions that go along with this guided notes, and let me know if you have any questions after trying to complete